Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Buckle up, everybody, because today we're looking at a company that's been all over the news, Aurora Mobile, ticker symbol JG. And their stock, well, it went on a wild ride recently, like seriously wild. We're talking a 229% jump in a single day. To help us understand just what's behind this incredible surge, I got an expert in market trends with me today. So let's jump right in. January 27th, 2025, Aurora Mobile stock just explodes, reaching its highest point since November 2022. What happened?
Well, the news that really got this rocket ship going was Aurora Mobile's announcement that they're integrating a powerful new AI tool into their platform,
Oh.
GPTBots.ai. It's called DeepSeek's R1 large language model, LLM for short.
LLMs. Yeah, I know those are like the brains behind AI tools like ChatGPT. Everyone's talking about them.
Oh.
But what's so special about DeepSeek's version?
Well, what's got everyone so excited is that DeepSeek's R1, it's considered a lean, mean AI machine, much more efficient and cost-effective than what we're seeing from the big guys, like OpenAI and Google. You can think of it like DeepSeek figured out a way to build a powerful engine that uses way less fuel.
So more power for less cost. I can definitely see why businesses would be excited about that.
Exactly. And this integration means businesses using Aurora's platform can ditch those old clunky chatbots and get a much smarter AI experience instead. Happier customers and lower operating costs all around.
So it's like every business you talk to suddenly has a super smart assistant ready to help. That's a pretty big shift. Did the market react to this news? I mean, beyond just Aurora Mobile stock.
Oh, absolutely. This announcement really made waves. Suddenly, any company even remotely connected to DeepSeek's model was getting attention. And Aurora Mobile, well, they very strategically put themselves right at the center of all this AI excitement. And the market definitely noticed.
Okay, but let's look at the specifics. Aurora Mobile stock opened that day at $6.01, peaked at a crazy $19.76, and closed around $13.67. Talk about a roller coaster. So is this all just hype, or is there something real behind this jump?
Well, to figure that out, we need to look at the technical side of things. That day, the trading volume for Aurora Mobile just exploded. Over 38 million shares, that's way above their average 15 million. Tells us there was a huge amount of buying interest.
So a lot of people wanted to get in on the action. But how does this fit into Aurora Mobile's overall performance?
Well, Aurora Mobile's price, it went flying past both its 50-day and 200-day moving averages. Those are key indicators of a stock's trend, so it points to some strong upward momentum. But we also need to look at the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. Think of it like a speedometer for stock prices.
Okay, so a high RSI means the stock is speeding up.
Exactly. And right now, that RSI is likely pushing past 70, which tells us the stock might be getting a little overheated. It could be due for a slowdown.
So what does all this mean for our listeners, the ones who might be thinking about investing in Aurora Mobile?
For those who are comfortable with a little risk, the ones who like to ride the wave, this could be a buying opportunity. But you got to be careful. That high RSI does suggest things could cool down pretty quickly.
So maybe not for the faint of heart then. What about the folks who are a little more cautious?
They might want to hold off for now, see if the stock stabilizes, maybe even dips a little before jumping in. And no matter what your risk tolerance is, setting a stop-loss order, that's crucial. It protects you from big losses.
Great advice. But before we get too far into all that, let's not forget about Aurora Mobile's recent earnings. They reported their Q3 2024 results back in November. Anything interesting there?
You know what really stood out to me was that Aurora Mobile is actually showing some real growth. Beyond just this recent stock surge, their revenue went up 7% year over year, and they achieved positive adjusted EBITDA for the 5th consecutive quarter.
So they're not just a flash in the pan. They've got a solid track record.
Exactly. This company isn't built on hype. They're consistently delivering growth, which is really reassuring for investors.
Okay, so let's talk about what the experts are saying, because there seems to be some disagreement here. Some analysts are pretty bearish on Aurora Mobile, with short-term price targets as low as $1.68. Others are much more optimistic, predicting long-term targets around $7. So how should listeners make sense of this?
Well, it really reflects the uncertainty we're seeing in the market right now, especially with tech stocks. Everyone's excited about AI, but it's still early days. Predicting the future, it's never easy. And even the experts don't always agree.
So it sounds like individual investors really need to do their research, figure out their own risk tolerance.
Absolutely. There's no one right answer here.
Let's bring in one more piece of the puzzle here, the Fear and Greed Index. Right now it's sitting at 39. Definitely fear territory. Is this fear justified? Or could this actually be a good opportunity for those who are willing to take a calculated risk?
That's a great question. There's definitely some fear surrounding Aurora Mobile's recent price surge. Some investors are worried it's all going to come crashing down. But on the other hand, some see this fear as a chance to buy into a potentially undervalued stock.
So high risk, high reward.
Exactly. It all comes back to carefully thinking about your own risk tolerance and your investment goals. It's all about understanding what you're getting into, the potential and the risks. And with a company like Aurora Mobile, riding this AI wave, it's especially important to look at both sides.
Let's dig a bit deeper into that AI wave. We've talked about DeepSeek's R1 LLM and how it makes Aurora Mobile's platform more efficient. But can you break down how this technology actually works? It still sounds a bit like magic to me.
Okay, so think of an LLM like superpowered brain. It's been trained on a massive amount of text and code. And this training, it allows it to understand human language, generate text, translate languages, even write different kinds of creative content. And it can answer your questions in a really informative way. It's like having this whole team of expert writers and researchers right there at your fingertips.
Okay, so how does Aurora Mobile use this superpowered brain to improve their chatbot platform, GPTBots.ai?
So GPTBots.ai, it takes this powerful LLM and applies it to customer interactions instead of those basic chatbots, the ones that follow these rigid scripts, and often miss the point. GPT-bots can actually understand the nuances of human language and respond in a more natural, helpful way.
So it's more like having a real conversation with an actual knowledgeable person, even if it's happening through a chat window.
Exactly. This is a real game changer for businesses. Think about it. A customer has a complex question, or maybe a complicated issue. Instead of getting frustrated with a limited chatbot, they can interact with GPT bots and get a really helpful personalized experience.
No more of those endless loops of please choose from the following options.
Right. And because DeepSeek's R1 model is so efficient, Aurora Mobile can offer this really powerful AI at a lower cost than their competitors, who are using those less efficient LLMs, gives them a real advantage.
Okay, so we've talked about the positives. The growth potential, this really exciting technology. But what about the risks?
Yeah.
What should investors be aware of when they're looking at Aurora Mobile?
You're right. It's important to be realistic. And I think one of the biggest risks is competition, the AI field. It's incredibly hot right now. You've got these big established companies and all these hungry startups, all vying for their piece of the pie. Aurora Mobile needs to keep innovating to stay ahead of the game.
So even with this tech advantage, there's no guarantee they'll be the one on top.
Exactly. Another thing to consider is the whole regulatory landscape. Governments around the world, they're still figuring out how to regulate AI. And there's always the chance that new rules could impact Aurora Mobile's business, especially as AI becomes more and more a part of our lives.
So regulatory uncertainty, that's another layer of risk for investors.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't forget about market volatility. Tech stocks are known for their ups and downs. And Aurora Mobile's recent surge, well, that's a perfect example. Investors need to be prepared for a potentially bumpy ride.
Sounds like investing in Aurora Mobile is a bit like riding a roller coaster. Thrilling, but with some definite ups and downs.
That's a great way to put it. And just like with a roller coaster, you need to decide, do you have the stomach for it? If you're okay with the risk, you believe in the long-term potential of AI, and you're willing to do your research, Aurora Mobile could be a really exciting addition to your portfolio.
But definitely not for those who prefer things slow and steady. Now let's talk about valuation. Aurora Mobile stock has been on fire. But is it actually worth its current price? Are we looking at a bubble that's about to burst?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. Some analysts think the stock is overvalued. They point to the really fast price increase and the fact that Aurora Mobile is still a pretty small player in the market.
So maybe the hype is getting a little ahead of reality.
That's what they're saying. But then you have others who are much more optimistic. They think Aurora Mobile's growth potential, especially with this new AI integration, it justifies a higher valuation. They see the current price as a reflection of what the company could become.
So different perspectives on how quickly Aurora Mobile can turn potential into results.
Exactly. As an investor, you need to weigh all the different arguments, look at your own risk tolerance, and decide which side you believe in.
Sounds like a lot to consider, but definitely a lot to be excited about too. How does Aurora Mobile fit into the bigger picture of what's happening in the AI industry as a whole?
Aurora Mobile's story, it's a really good example. of how AI is moving beyond science fiction and becoming part of our everyday lives. They're using this cutting-edge technology to solve real problems and improve how businesses connect with their customers. And they're not the only ones. This is happening across industries. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, retail. AI is changing the game everywhere.
So Aurora Mobile, they're riding this huge wave of technological change, and it's only getting bigger.
You got it. Their success is really going to depend on how well they navigate all this change, how quickly they can adapt to new advancements, and how effectively they can compete in what's becoming a very crowded field.
It sounds like there's a lot to keep track of. For our listeners who are interested in Aurora Mobile, and maybe AI investing in general, what's the best way to stay informed?
I'd say a good place to start is Aurora Mobile's own website. They have their news releases, investor presentations, all sorts of company information there. Beyond that, staying up to date on industry publications and analyst reports. That can give you some really valuable insights into the company's performance and what they might do in the future.
Do your research, folks. Before we wrap up, I want to touch on something else, something really important. The ethics of AI. As this technology gets more powerful, more integrated into our lives, we really need to think about the risks and make sure it's being developed responsibly. What are your thoughts on this?
You bring up a really important point. We've all heard the saying, with great power comes great responsibility, and AI is no exception. We need to be mindful of the ethical implications, make sure there's transparency in how these systems are built and how they're used. And we have to address any potential biases that could come up. It's not just about technological progress. It's about building a future where AI benefits everyone.
Well said. So to sum it all up, Aurora Mobile is a company with a really interesting story. They're using AI to tackle real-world problems, and they're riding this wave of technological change that could completely transform industries. But like with any investment, it's super important to carefully consider both the risks and the rewards. Do your research, think about your own investment goals, and decide if Aurora Mobile fits with your vision for the future.